Hey everybody, welcome. We are going to be going to Cucina Testarossa in San Francisco, who's going to show us how to cook with seaweed, and we're pairing it with champagne. I am all into seaweed lately because it's very healthy and it's a sustainable crop. And as you know, champagne is a perfect pairing for many, many dishes. And so we're going to do a spectrum of things with seaweed, pairing them with champagne. So, Laura in San Francisco is going to be tuning in any moment. And we are going to get going. And the thing I like about seaweed is it ships very easily because it's dried and it weighs nothing, and once you reconstitute it, it's fairly substantial. And you can put it in many dishes, but it just keeps, because it's dried, or you can often get it frozen, it keeps so well. You can always just have an extra green to throw into whatever you're cooking. Hi Hispanics in Wine. I love what you guys are doing. Waiting for Laura. There's always a little bit of a glitch doing these things because you gotta wait for Instagram to buddy, and then you drop down. Hi Val. Hello dear.
Bonjour, bonjour.
So I was just telling everybody that I have been on a big seaweed kick because it's one of the healthiest greens. It's got a lot of nutrients and it's really versatile. You keep it, it's because it's dried, it ships fairly easily, and then you can keep it either frozen or dried and it's ready whenever you want. I've put algae in the smoothies. I put the dried one when I make rice. I make a lot of bean stews, and when you cook kombu, it makes the beans more digestible and adds a little umami depth in there. But you and I have been talking about pairing it with champagne because champagne it's the cheat when you're a sommelier, that champagne goes with everything. It's like the perfect pairing. And so we've been drinking champagne all week and pairing and developing recipes. And you're so much fun to work with. So cheers to that. I'm going to tap the glass carefully. And thanks to Comité Champagne, who's helped us do all this. And
merci beaucoup.
Here we go. So Laura, tell us what we're going to make today.
We've got a lot today. Super excited about this. I got a little carried away with the shopping. So we have nori, and we have kombu and wakame, all different. And these are all dried, all different kinds of seaweed. And then we've got our classic nori that we know so well. That's nori sheets that sushi gets wrapped in. So we've used all of them in all these recipes, so that's really cool. So I made some, we're going to make, well, I made some, but we'll bake some here. Chocolate chip, black sesame, seaweed cookies, which came out really good, earthy. We're going to make a watermelon salad with nori, and then some sauteed wakame. Right. And then we're going to make a scrambled tamago, I don't know how to pronounce it. And it's just scrambled eggs with the nori, with sesame oil, with a little bit of sugar, a little bit of soy sauce. And we're going to cook them really low and slow, and then sprinkle the nori on top. So that'll be beautiful. And then for the final drum roll, we are going to make some onigiri, those cute little triangle rice balls. So super excited for all that. And they go,
I'm so impressed with
them all.
I'm so impressed with your onigiri, because I was saying I've tried making them and they were a disaster. They were delicious, but they were a disaster. So you want to show everybody the furikake first?
Sure. So I don't try this at home. So I got a little carried away and decided to make my own furikake. So where's the jar? Here's what the jar looks like cooked. Or pre-made, sorry.
This is the one that you can buy in any Asian market. And I posted earlier, I put it with popcorn, which is a great champagne pairing. Anything popcorn, always put your champagne with it. And this is just, correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, it's just the seaweed, a little bit of sugar, salt, and sesame.
Right. Exactly.
So it's really great. It's traditionally, you just put it on rice. So if you're just bored and lonely at home and have nothing but rice, this makes it very, very good. It just adds some simple spice. You can put it on eggs, you can put it on your rice, you can put it on pasta, anything, and it just adds some umami and some salt and some sweet. And again, it goes right with champagne. It's going to make your sad bowl of rice is going to be uplifted with a beautiful glass of champagne. But you took it to another level and you made it with an extra component.
I did. So I looked up the recipes on the internet, and I found one. It's a little bit more complicated, but it involves kombu. So I showed you that earlier. It's seaweed that's been dried, and so they're long strips, and then I just crunch them up, and then I pulverize them in my spice grinder.
Yeah.
And then I put bonito flakes in, because the recipe I had called for bonito flakes. So, and there's bonito flakes all over my kitchen, but they're just super light and really fluffy. So I chopped those up, and then I did some white sesame, black sesame, some salt, and some sugar as well. So
and then that's just in your
sesame.
You just have a jar of it, so you're just going to be able to sprinkle it on whatever, right?
Yeah, so I just made a jar of it. I just mixed it all up, and yeah.
And Val said that furikake jar that you showed earlier, the bought one, is a really good thing for just other spice mixes. So it's a good idea, Val.
Oh, good. Great.
So we're not going to go into making that.
Nori.
It's just to show another version of seaweed that's easy to keep around, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And and that can go on top, and it can go on top of you can even sprinkle on top of your scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
And champagne and eggs go so well together. Champagne, eggs, and caviar. And if you don't have caviar, you can just sprinkle some of this on, because you still get that fish flavor.
The taste of the sea, the salt, all of that. And again, champagne and salty snacks is a fabulous, fabulous pairing. And I want to mention, while we're talking about eggs, that champagne is one of the tricky, egg pairing wine with eggs can be tricky. Champagne is always an easy go-to for like brunch dishes, or sometimes you make egg dishes for dinner. And I want to remind people that a lot of times at brunch, an unlimited mimosa brunch is probably not with champagne. And champagne comes from champagne, but sparkling wine can be very delicious, but that's probably what's in your mimosa. So just to be clear, it's not a bad thing. It's just champagne is a little special because it's only from champagne. What's next? You're going to do the watermelon salad?
So we've got a watermelon salad. So I found these cute little mini watermelons at the market, and cut them up. So we've got our cut up watermelon.
Okay.
And then we just add some watermelon. We add some oil to the watermelon. So you don't want a heavy olive oil, like you don't want a big Greek olive oil, just sort of a lighter olive oil. You could probably even use like a drop of sesame in here, and that would be good as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put in a little bit of chili flakes. Chili flakes are they're very sneaky because they're much spicier than you think.
Okay.
So you always want to be a little bit sparing. So you don't want to like shake it over the bowl in case it all comes out. But
I see. But so I learned that chili in general is kind of like a salt. It not necessarily adds so much heat as it amps up other flavors. Is that correct?
Well, there's heat there too.
Sure.
So you're getting both.
Okay.
So don't be fooled.
Right. Be careful with it. Right.
Right. And then it calls for lime. And as we talk about, whenever anything calls for citrus, I always put the zest in. Anything that calls for citrus. Don't spill the champagne. Anything that calls for citrus juice, we always want to put the zest in, because that very, very, very fine top layer of the skin, it's pure flavor. It's just this deep, powerful lime flavor. It's not like the bright, acidic lime juice that we get. It's a deeper flavor. It's that lime oil. So I'm just going to. I've got my good Lord, my microplane.
Your sister. And you're doing that in the 3 little movements, which I learned from you. That's one of your techniques that you teach.
So I cut little ends off just to hold it. And then I do it in 3 swipes. So bottom third, middle third, top third, because we don't want to, you don't want to go over an area more than once, because as soon as you hit that white area, it gets bitter. So you want to make sure that you can go back, and if you missed a spot, but you never want to go over the same area that you've already graded, because you'll just get.
And this is one of those, citrus zest is often a component flavor in champagne too. So it's going to be a good pairing thing. Kind of sometimes I look for bridge components, that a thing in a dish like almost anything
Right.
with citrus zest is going to be a bridge to your champagne because it's those
That's
small
a great
ingredients.
point. Yeah, so I'm just going to squeeze the lemon juice in. And I think I'm just going to do half a lime since this is really just 1 to 2 servings.
Right. And that's
And
the
lime and
acid in your vinaigrette, right?
right. So for vinaigrette, the technique for vinaigrette is acid, fat, and flavor. So in this case, our acid is the lime, our fat is the olive oil, and then the flavor, we're going to have the nori, the wakame, the chili pepper flakes, all those things. So, and when you're making your vinaigrette, you want to make sure there's balance. So your oil should be in balance with your fat, which should be in balance with your flavor. Like you
Okay.
wouldn't want a super heavy olive oil with like orange juice. So
Gotcha.
like
Oh, right. Okay.
the acid could be any kind of acid. I mean, it could be lime juice, lemon juice, orange juice, grapefruit juice, vinegar, balsamic vinegar. So we're going up the scale of strength. And then the same with olive oil. So you can do a lighter flavored olive oil up to a heavier. But you want to make sure that they're balanced. And
Gotcha.
then the flavoring as well. Like you wouldn't put like a ton of tarragon or rosemary with like a light vinaigrette because it would
Right.
just overpower it. But,
So with this
you want
salad, because this salad is mint and watermelon and nori, which are fairly mild flavors, you are using a mild olive oil, and lime is on the milder side.
right on the milder
Okay.
scale, right? So I mix those up, and then I'm going to chop up some. We're going to add some mint, a pinch of salt, some mint, and then we'll top it with some nori. So for mint, what I do is there's the term chiffonade,
Mm-hmm.
which means ribbons. It's French for ribbons.
All right.
And so when you see the beautiful ribbons of herbs on your dessert, on your plate, when you go out, like they'll do it with basil on your pasta.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you do it is you take these leaves and you just stack them on top of each other. If anybody, I'm dating myself, but if anybody saw the I Love Lucy show where she was rolling the cigars in Cuba, it's the same concept. So
That's
we're just going to
hysterical.
stack our leaves and get on there. Do one more. And then if you've got smaller leaves, you can just put them inside the big ones so they don't fall out. So what we do, we just roll them. We just roll them like a Lucille Ball cigar.
Okay.
And then you just slice them as thin as you can. So, and then what you get are little small mint ribbons.
Okay.
So they just look, because as I always say, we eat with our eyes. And so, seeing these beautiful little ribbons is
Beautiful. Wow. And you
so
make
it's
it
a little
look easy.
mint chiffonade. And then we will just top it with some nori. So if you're having people over, I love these little plates I have. They've got little bowls. So what we do is we'll just spoon this in. So it's just a way to make something very simple look very fancy, because really this is just a watermelon salad with a lime vinaigrette.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So so we've got our watermelon in there, and then I'm going to put a little bit of mint. Woo. And then I cut up some nori.
Now, how did you use scissors or a knife?
I started out with scissors, and then and I had nori everywhere.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Do it in a bowl.
Or I started out with a knife, and the nori went everywhere. So then I just went to scissors. So I'm just going to sprinkle. Actually, before I put the nori, I'm going to put a little bit of wakame on the top.
And that's going to add that depth, that kind of ocean umami depth.
Yeah.
And that's a reminder that what is it? MSG comes from seaweed. So, and what that does, it's that umami flavor from the sea that doesn't taste fishy, but it tastes of the sea, a little bit of salt and a little bit of depth. And that's what a lot of these seaweeds do.
Right. And you can get a little fancy, put some mint around the edge. And, if you're having a brunch or something, it's beautiful.
That's really pretty.
And you saw me make it. So it was super simple. And it's
beautiful.
And
that's another, fruit is a great pairing with champagne because traditionally I think of like apple and pear flavors because it's in the northern climate, but it
Right.
pairs so well with almost any fruit because fruit again is sugar and acid in its own way,
Right.
and those things are in champagne too. Not sugar like sweet, but just as a balanced component. And so again,
Right.
you've got depth, you've got salt, you've got fruit. All those things
Mhm.
pair with champagne and can be that bridge component, but you've got them beautifully there. Really pretty.
Right. Thank you. I'm going to try this, and then I'll try it with get a little bit of the wakame.
See, you're braver than me to eat on camera. I'll get food in my teeth. I applaud you. But we have a Pinot Meunier based champagne for this, and how is that?
It goes so well together. The champagne really brings out each of the flavors. So like, you know, I tasted the watermelon, I tasted the lime, I tasted the wakame,
Yeah,
I tasted the mint, and it just really took it to the next level. Really, like, as they say, they brighten it up.
yeah.
Really brightened it up. So it was a beautiful combination. A little bit of salt, just a tiny bit of the earthy, which you kind of pick up in that oxidized apple
Mm-hmm.
flavor. So it was beautiful combination.
Well, last time we talked about wine. I was like, the word is snap. I always think the word
Yeah.
with champagne is lift because it is those bubbles
Mm,
rising, but those bubbles bring aromatics up into your nose, and it just amps up everything a little bit. Kind of makes you again lift out of your seat because it's such an
right.
exciting pairing.
Right. So I wanted to show you the wakame. Let's see, I showed you the kombu, but so the wakame is so this is what it's like when you get it in the Japanese restaurants or in the
Right.
grocery store. But this is what it looks like dried. So it's similar to the can't get it out.
And there's something about this when you heat it or
It's very
something, it turns
similar.
bright green.
Right. So when you saute them,
Yeah.
so they're a little bit thinner than the kombu, but you can still they're a little bit smaller chunks, but same concept.
Right. And that salad is green, but there's a fruitiness to it. And that
Yeah.
soy in the dressing are again, soy is your
Yeah.
saltiness, and your that seaweed is very fruity. And again, those are flavors that pair with champagne.
Right. So
Beautifully done.
you want to screenshot it?
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Next dish.
All right.
Now I made this. I don't know if I can hold it up. I made the egg
Oh, beautiful.
with the this is the gimp, which is the roasted nori. You roast it in olive oil, or I mean, sorry, sesame oil. But of course, you can buy it, and it comes like this. Gim is roasted nori. It's a little oily, so it's a little messy, and like wipe your scissors down afterwards. But I made this egg last week, and again, it's these different flavors: eggs and champagne, but the sugar and the soy and the sesame oil just really make it amazing with champagne.
Before we jump to the eggs, I want to show the cookies
Okay.
because
Oh
I
yeah,
want to
you're
get
gonna
them in
put
the
those in the oven.
oven. So I want to get them in the oven. So this is what they came out looking like. They're just
Beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I was surprised how they were super. It's really basically chocolate chip cookies with black sesame, tahini, and nori. And so I used Soom Foods they make regular tahini, organic tahini, but they also make a chocolate tahini.
Okay.
So I used a little bit of both, regular tahini and the chocolate tahini,
Mm-hmm.
and they came out beautifully. And I just chopped up the fèves, the little pellets of the Valrhona chocolate,
All right.
72% guanaja, and
Mm-hmm.
just chop those up and mix them in. If you have a stand mixer, it's super easy. But this is what they came out like. So it says to roll them into balls.
All these recipes, Italian Wine Lover, are on Laura's website, which is available through her profile link. Okay,
Yeah,
so those are
and
the
I can
balls.
post them as well. So you just roll them into balls. I use an ice cream scooper, and then we are going to just cook them for 12 minutes.
Okay.
And 13 minutes, and then that's it. And then what it says to do is pat down the middle because they're poofy. So we pat it down, and the middle stays creamy as opposed to hard.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we shall see. So those will be ready in about 12 minutes. So now, and I haven't tried them with, should I try them with, I'll wait till those come out and then we can try them with the champagne.
Yeah.
They were interesting because they had a little bit of an earthy flavor.
Yeah, you mentioned that after the aftertaste. I just want to remind you, Laura, we're coming up on a half-hour mark, and Instagram will cut us off on the hour, so we need to go a little bit quick. I'm sorry.
All right. Zuckerberg, fix your product.
I just don't like that we don't have the control over this. So while you're doing that, I'm going to explain that.
Yeah,
well, you tell us what you're doing. This is tamago, which I'm not that familiar with, but we found the recipe, and it's delicious.
So tamago is the, you know, when you get the, when you're in the sushi restaurant, you can get the egg over the rice.
Oh, right.
That's what the name is from. So we're just really making scrambled eggs with, we're going to make it with some sugar, some garlic, some soy sauce, and then we're going to cook it in sesame oil.
Okay.
So it'll just have a beautiful flavor, and then we'll top it with some nori, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to mix in the sugar, soy sauce, and I'm going to grate this garlic into it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put it. And the thing with eggs is low and slow.
Yeah.
That's the key to eggs. Is low heat. Stir it slowly, and they'll come out really creamy. Like now, I see people add eggs and milk to. They add milk and cream to eggs, and you don't need to. You don't need them to make the eggs creamy. You just need to cook them really low and slow, and you're good.
Now, my issue with that is I can't. I get impatient. Can I stir them and then walk out of the kitchen for 30 seconds and then come back and stir them?
Yeah. Just if you keep it on low. The thing is, if eggs get too hot, you cook them too hot too fast,
they get hard.
Eggs get tough. Yeah.
So again, while you're doing that, I want to explain that eggs again are a fantastic pairing with champagne. You've got that rich egg yolk and the white, and then there also you can add so many flavors. But we're all familiar with different versions of eggs, but champagne is an amazing pairing. Almost anything you can imagine with eggs. And then we're adding the soy and the sesame and a little bit of sugar. So all of those flavors again are in the champagne, and so it's kind of a complementary pairing.
Right. Yeah, just that, salt and acid amp up flavor. And so these are all just different versions of salt and acid. Yeah,
and that's a reminder, salty things go with champagne too. It's very classic.
Right. Fried chicken, I think, is my favorite.
Right. Yeah. And just because we've been drinking champagne all week long, it's been really, really fun to just not think of it as a special occasion wine. It's a wine that is great with food. And I have always been hesitant to, in a restaurant, you generally, at the end of the night, if you have a champagne open, you finish it. But I've got this kind of stopper is really great, and your champagne keeps the next day, and then this is a little more classic. These things, if you don't want to finish the whole bottle in one sitting, you're definitely going to be good the next day with the rest of the bottle.
And you know what I do? I'm making, I'm making my own champagne vinegar.
Oh, right.
So if I've got, a little bit left in the bottle, I just add it to the, to the jar. All right. So tell us about these champagnes. I don't know. I'd love to learn more because I have a hard time discerning the different regions of champagne.
Well,
and they're so distinct. But
the main things to remember about these two that we're drinking today, which is a little bit unusual. One is 100% Pinot Meunier, which Pinot Meunier is a red grape, and you don't very often see 100% Pinot Meunier, but I asked for this pairing because it has a little more depth and a little more textural mouthfeel. And I think that Seaweed has, when you have a green bean, there's a little bit of excitement on the edge of your tongue, which is, I find it to be like tannins, just like tea. It kind of there's a little bit of that in Seaweed, and so I wanted a little textural wine. And they sent us one, and it's quite over delivers for what it is. It's just an amazing combination, and the texture kind of balances any strong flavors you have from the Seaweed. And then the other one we have is a Grand Cru, which it means you've got a little bit older vines, you've got a little bit more concentration of flavor, and so again, it's not just a light and simple champagne. It's got some texture, it's got some depth. And I think that that's what seaweed does for some of these dishes. It adds again, the texture, but it adds some depth of flavor, which we're adding to with all these spices and things. But,
so I want to show, sorry to interrupt, I just want to show, see how creamy these are?
Yeah, really.
Like when they're low and slow.
Boy,
so
you got to be patient, though.
Yeah, I don't even need to add cream. So it's
really amazing.
Yeah.
So you've got your soy and you oiled your pan with sesame oil, and you've got your sugar and salt and
soy sauce. Or I have
soy sauce.
tamari.
Okay. I use
Gluten-free.
tamari too,
Yeah.
You can control your salt easier.
Right. Right.
So, okay, I don't like eating on camera, but I'm going to have a bite, and then I'm going to have it with...
So my eggs are done. So I don't know. Y'all say it takes so long. Let me grab a plate 1 second.
Wow. Okay, for me, the egg is the initial taste, but the champagne really makes that nori pop.
Right.
It's got some green, it's got some texture, and you can find those things in your champagne too.
So I am just, let's see.
This is going to stay on my make every weekend roster. I really like that different kind of saltiness in the eggs.
So here we go.
Now, what did you put on top? You put the nori on top, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I put a little bit of nori on top. So let's.
And
when
again,
when it hits the hot eggs, the aroma really lifts.
But you see that depth that I'm talking about? It's like the vegetables have a depth. You know, there's that green haricot vert kind of thing is there. And champagne could not be a better pairing. Or you could not have a better pairing than champagne.
That's amazing with it.
It's really great, right? And it elevates just a simple egg dish. I always joke that when my dad went away, when we were little, Mom would make pancakes and eggs. And so eggs for dinner is like such a treat for me.
Isn't it good?
I do it all the champagne time. Just lifts it up. And again, that took how long? 5 minutes?
At the most.
Yeah.
I'll try it with the Meunier. But it's so interesting because it sort of brought down the acidity of the sparkling, but it really amped up the flavor of the eggs.
Yeah.
It was just such a
and I
beautiful
always tell people it's very rare that you have champagne side by side to taste how different they are. But we're very lucky right now. But if you ever have a chance and you have a chance to sample some champagne side by side, there can be vastly different. Just the array of flavors and styles is fascinating, and to try them side by side is a real treat.
Right.
So we're going to go to the onigiri now.
Oh my God! I'm so excited.
when we were talking about this, you got all those seaweeds. You're like, oh my God! And then you fell in love with these onigiri. They're the cutest thing. I showed a picture. You can buy them. Apparently, they have them in vending machines in Asia. And my friend Heidi told me that you can get them at 7-Eleven in Mexico.
Oh my gosh!
So they're like snacks. You can put whatever you want in them, and they're so cute, Lori. It's such a good job, and made it look so easy. And so what they are is they're a stuffed rice ball with sticky rice. Stuff them with anything. I've seen Spam. I've had mushroom. I've done with mushroom. You can do pickled mustard greens, which is amazing.
Oh, interesting.
All kinds of little seaweed salads. And what you did is you caramelized onion with seaweed, and you were going to put them in there, but I'm going to let you explain that.
Right. I did some wakame, not wakame, kombu in here.
Kombu, right.
So I just, I soaked them to get them soft, and then I chopped them up and sauteed them with the onion, with the yellow onions. Right. And then we've got our black sesames to roll them in. And then I got these little, I'm cheating, I'm not doing them by hand, but if I did,
they're so cute. That's the way.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to do it by hand, they would look like a tennis ball, probably.
Exactly.
But, so we have big ones, little ones, and I think if you want to stuff it, you probably go for the bigger ones. But I'm going to put a little furikake in it. Again, you know, it's all about adding flavor
Yep.
and also adding color because, again, as I say ad nauseum, we eat with our eyes.
Right. Do you want to show
So,
them the rice that you used?
oh yes. So I cheated and I bought this sticky rice in a packet, 90 seconds in the microwave, and it comes out perfect every
Yeah.
time.
Which, if
So,
you're going to make these, that's the best way to start
yeah,
because it's just sticky enough and you have to wet your hands so they don't stick to your hands. And
right.
I don't think they really stick to the molds, but you can
Mm-mm.
make it in your rice machine or an Instant Pot. It takes a little bit of experimenting to get it sticky and
Right.
manageable. It's tricky.
Right. So I put a little bit in the bottom and just pat it down to get all sides and then try to put a little divot in there.
Mm-hmm.
I just put a little divot so I can put some of the filling in. So I'm just going to do just a teaspoon in the middle. And then just want to add a little bit of flavor to it. Get in there. And then you just want to fill in the sides and then the top with the rice. Because if the onions go all the way to the side, then it won't hold together.
Right.
I learned this by experience.
Exactly. That's the tricky part, keeping it right in the center.
Yeah,
But again,
exactly.
I want to remind people why I think seaweed is such a great thing is because it is sustainable. There's a lot of fisheries that are, there's not as many fish out there anymore. And it's a sustainable crop that we're going to need more sustainable crops to feed everybody. And it's an easy to have on hand vegetable packed with nutrients that you can very easily add to many, many dishes. And then, as we're showing today, it pairs with champagne.
So you fill it, and then you just put this little top on and smush it, and then they just pop out really easily. And I've got my nori sheet here to make the little handle. So I just pop it out. It's got a little push thing on the back, and it just comes right out.
It's so cool.
Isn't it amazing? So I just put that on it. Whoops. Fold it up, and then
So now it has a handle.
and then I just put it in rice. Whoops.
Put it in
It's falling
sesame.
apart. Yeah. And it's falling apart. But there's a little onigiri. And our cookies are going to be ready in 20 seconds.
Okay.
So,
But show the plate of onigiri again, if you would, to show people, because you can just easily have those prepared ahead of time because room temperature is how you eat them. They're an amazing snack. You can use whatever you want inside them.
Yeah, they're so cute. This guy just fell apart. I don't think I packed it in enough, but you saw how to do it. So
yeah.
Oops. So our cookies out. Let me make some room here. So here they are. Oh my gosh, they smell so good.
Oh my gosh.
And so then what they have you do, what this says in the directions, is that you take a ladle. Oh, I'm burning my thumb.
Don't do that.
All right, so here we go. So you just take a ladle and just poof down the middle.
And why does that make them creamy or not? They don't dry out as so much?
I don't know why.
It's so cool, though.
Isn't it? So there we go. So we'll just let them sit for about 10 minutes. Then we'll put them on the rack and on the cooling rack. And we're good to go.
And again, cookies. Who doesn't want cookies with champagne? But these,
right?
You said this earthiness from the seaweed is kind of like the aftertaste from them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The seaweed comes in at the end. So you're eating this earthy cookie. So your mind is kind of saying, wait a minute, I'm seeing a chocolate chip cookie, but I'm not tasting a chocolate chip cookie.
Right.
And you're kind of getting this earthiness from the seaweed, and then the nori comes in, and you get that sea flavor. But let's try one of these guys. Let's see if it's it is soft in the middle.
Amazing.
So let's try it with some champagne. Cheers.
Cheers. think they're a little bit more rich and earthy than your typical chocolate chip.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of sweetness
Right.
at all. So that's why I think it goes so well with the champagne.
And Laura, I want to remind people that there is it's a massive open online course. It's called a MOOC that Champagne does. If you want to learn more about Champagne, it's at champagne-mooc.com. And it's an amazing course of videos. It's very easy to go through it, and then you learn as much as you want, or you can just watch everything and take it as seriously or as fun as you want to learn more, and you can get some little specialist certification thing.
Yeah,
for people to really learn about Champagne. We're gonna do that together, I think.
Yeah, I downloaded it and I started to watch the first lesson. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I learned so much from it.
And it's so pretty. It's just like looking at those vineyards is just incredible for me.
Doesn't it? You just want to click your heels 3 times so you can be there.
Exactly. Those rolling hills. And just while we're doing a little housekeeping, I just want to remind people that Champagne is only from Champagne. As much as we love talking about going with eggs and you have it at brunch, generally, unlimited mimosas are probably not made from Champagne, and Champagne is really great to be drinking on its own, but don't be fooled. It's not unlimited at brunch. What else? What else are we going to talk about?
So do you want to talk about, so what always interests me is, in France, Champagne can be made from 3 grapes, but everywhere else, sparkling can be made from anything, really.
Yeah.
If you can put it in a bottle and throw in some CO2, you've got sparkling. But I just think it's so interesting. And, when I first learned that it's actually a red grape, that this is actually a red grape.
Right. It's wild, right?
Yeah.
And that's where Blanc de Noir comes from. It's like white wine from a black-skinned grape.
Right. And the thing is, you can eat it with every course. I mean, you can eat it with a salad, appetizer, salad, main course. If you're having fish, or even I roasted a chicken and I had a late disgorged champagne. So that's a really earthy, nutty flavor to it. It's kind of got that hazelnut brioche. And that went great with the chicken. And then of course, with dessert, it's always so good, especially if you can get a demi-sec with dessert.
I love demi-sec. It's one of my favorites.
Then it's beautiful, because you always want to, whenever you're pairing wine with dessert, as you know, Mr. Sweet Wine, I'm preaching to the choir here, but you always want the wine to be sweeter, as sweet as or sweeter than the dessert. And it's really interesting because with this, it's super earthy. So even a brut can goes well with it.
Well, and one of the things to remember too with pairing wine is you want to cleanse your palate in between bites or in between courses, and Champagne is the perfect thing for that, because I think texturally, again, the bubbles do that on your palate. So it's always going to be a refreshing wine. It's always going to cleanse your palate between bites and between courses. And you can certainly do 5 different champagnes with 5 different dishes, or 1 champagne throughout the meal. And just to remind people, I think I'm learning about seaweed. I think it's my new little thing to learn about, because it's a sustainable crop that's nutrient rich, that's good for the planet. It's fairly easy to harvest and grow, and economical, and it's something you can keep in your cabinet, either dried or frozen. And so you kind of always have it on hand for an extra green to throw into soups, to throw into salad, to throw into rice. And and you get a lot when you order it. You are kind of surprised how much you got. And then the point again is that seaweed is kind of an oddball vegetable. We don't know it. We don't cook with it very much. And Champagne is the king of versatile wines for pairing with food, even seaweed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know. I never cooked with seaweed until this. So,
I think I converted you to being into it, right?
You did.
A little bit.
You did. And it just, we get so caught up, or I should say we.
Sorry, my sirens are happening.
They're coming for you, Jeff. They're on you. We get so caught up with what things should pair with, like what we're told should pair with, and it's really just experimenting. When I tell people that Champagne goes great with popcorn or fried chicken, they don't believe me, and I was like, well,
exactly. You think it's to have it at a cocktail party or to celebrate and toast, but it's such a good wine to have with food.
Yeah, and even if it's just a Tuesday afternoon, there's just something very festive about Champagne. I mean, champagne makes, I would say, it makes a meeting a party.
That's very,
So,
very true. That's a good one.
so,
But also, don't be afraid to open that bottle and it'll keep a day or two afterwards with those stoppers to just have on hand, which I got to say I'm kind of guilty of. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to open a whole bottle of champagne, but it's really been
right.
a blast all week to have champagne on hand and try it with so many things. It's been a fun week. So, thank you
Yeah.
for going along this journey with me and for
Thank
doing all
you.
the heavy lifting on that end.
My
And
pleasure.
thanks
Thank you
everybody
to
for watching.
champagne.
This was a
Thank
lot
you
of
to
fun.
champagne.
And thank you, Comité Champagne. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll talk to you soon, Laura.
Au
Bye,
revoir.
everybody.